Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Crypto Philanthropy, your guide to crypto-powered change. Nick Mikulewski with the Giving Block here, and really excited for today's episode because we're going all the way into the Wayback Machine to the very start of the Giving Block, and couldn't be more excited to welcome one of the Giving Block's co-founders, Alex Wilson, to the show. Alex, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Nick. It's great to be catching up today.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys started the Giving Block in 2018. You guys sort of pioneered crypto philanthropy. And after the Giving Block was acquired by Shift4, you guys are now starting an entirely new venture called Cyclops. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I guess, let's start at the beginning. You know, I remember 2018. And what I remember about crypto in 2018 was a spectacular market crash. A lot of people were calling it kind of like crypto's digital beanie baby moment. So with that whole backdrop, I mean, what were you guys thinking? And, how did you decide to launch the Giving Block, and how hard was it to kind of get it off the ground in those early days?
Yeah, it was kind of hilarious timing, actually. Also, because it was both Pat and I's first, let's say, more serious business venture. Pat and I had known each other for a while, though. We went to college together, and we were both living in Washington, D.C. at the time. Pat was working at the Lupus Foundation. I was a management consultant at a firm called Optimity. And we were always just like kicking around different ideas of like, let's start a business. We both wanted to be entrepreneurs. And I started getting into crypto mostly in really 2017, but it was like buying a little tiny bit of Bitcoin or Ethereum here and there, trying to do a couple ICOs, just getting kind of sucked in nights and weekends. And funny enough, Pat was the friend in our group talking people out of Bitcoin, like making fun of people who had Bitcoin. Like it was like complete opposites. I'm talking people into it or trying to. Pat's trying to talk people out of it. And I eventually kind of got Pat to come around on Bitcoin and crypto, sort of kicking and screaming at first, but he had that sort of aha moment after reading the Bitcoin white paper. And we were just always thinking, all right, how do we find a way to work in crypto full time? We've got to start a business. What do we do? And then, over drinks, thinking, well, Pat's working at the Lupus Foundation. They don't have a way to accept crypto. If crypto is going to become as big as we think it's going to become, every charity is going to have to find a way to not only accept it, but actually fundraise it and make this a bigger part of their strategy. And it didn't really seem like anyone was focused on the nonprofit sector at the time. And like you said, the timing could not have been worse, but we stuck with it.
All right, so you guys are having some drinks, and you're realizing that there might be a gap in the market. But take us back to maybe some of those first conversations, and from those like initial struggles of kind of like formulating the idea and thinking about it. Like, when you went to some of those nonprofits, what were some of the misunderstandings they had about crypto and how it would actually kind of tie to their fundraising efforts? I'm really curious what those initial conversations were like.
Yeah. So when we started kicking around this idea, it was probably like, halfway through 2017. We did a lot of research of which charities are accepting crypto, how are they doing it, right? Back then, there was a couple solutions like BitPay, Coinbase Commerce, in some cases, just like nonprofits trying to set up an exchange account and copy and pasting a wallet address on their website. Pretty clunky solutions that we found. But there were some charities accepting crypto. So we weren't the first ones to have this idea, actually. But no one was actually focused on the nonprofit market. So what we did was we did as much research as we could. And while we were doing that, we came across the Pineapple Fund post on Reddit in late 2017. And I don't know, you're probably familiar with this, but maybe the whole audience isn't. The Pineapple Fund was this Bitcoin donor who posted on a Reddit page basically saying, I made a lot of money in Bitcoin. Now I want to give it away to nonprofits. Apply below, essentially. And it reads like a scam almost, right? Like, here's free money, apply, send me your application, I'll send you Bitcoin. A lot of those charities had never accepted Bitcoin before. And those who did had a really hard time doing it. So what we did was talk to those, like roughly, I think it was 50 charities who got a Pineapple Fund donation, interviewed them, collected their feedback, what worked, what didn't, who were they using, what could be better. And we used that feedback to build really what was an MVP of the Giving Block in early 2018 then.
Yeah, fascinating. And I guess so off those conversations, I don't know if there was like a moment or there was a feeling when, this idea starts to get some real world traction. I mean, after those interviews, I mean, when did it feel like, hey, I think we got something here?
I think the pineapple fund moment was very validating for us
Hmm.
because that was a very public example of tens of millions of dollars being donated. We knew there was donations happening, but they weren't necessarily always public. So that was incredibly validating. We're like, oh my gosh, if this is happening now, imagine how much more often this is going to be happening 1 year, 2, 3 years from now. Like, even if we're having a crypto bear market right now, like, we're so confident in crypto, we know it's going to come back stronger than ever in the next couple of years. So we basically just need to build a product that's the best in the industry, really tailor it to nonprofits, and then be there at the right time in the right place, right? Build the product, build the relationships, and when the market bounces back, be ready to go, and just find a way to sort of stick it out in the meantime.
So as you guys are putting this together, you're a couple of entrepreneurs. Do you remember kind of like whether it was like some good advice or some, some direction you got early on that, really, was particularly helpful, or were you guys just really, sort of trying to figure it all out on your own?
Yeah, we just kind of stumbled through it mostly on our own. Most people told us it was actually a horrible idea. We tried to even raise money from investors, and everyone's like, oh, why? Like, charity market seems like a small market. Why are you focusing on this? Like, I don't get it. Why would people donate? Because it was a completely new category we were creating, right? And we really see ourselves as the category king and the inventors of crypto philanthropy because it didn't really exist as a category before. You could sign up with these very generic solutions. But yeah, most people said, I don't think it's going to work. That's a bad idea. So we weren't able to get investors for a long time. It wasn't until the business was actually already profitable that we were eventually able to raise money from investors. And because of that, Pat and I had to keep our day jobs on the side and work on this nights and weekends the first couple of years.
Yeah. All right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So the business has some critical mass and, things are starting to build. Talk a little bit about kind of the growth. When did that momentum really start to, kick into high gear and feel a lot more scalable rather than just kind of like the daily scramble that you guys have been managing for a couple of years?
Yeah. First 2 years, to be honest, were really, really slow. Like 2018, 2019, not much happening. 2020 started to pick up, and then I think 2021 would have really been sort of our 2020 was really the breakout year going into 2021. COVID, which was really sort of peak breakout. I guess that was like spring 2020, right?
Yep.
That was actually a tipping point for us. And it's sort of funny because when we were quitting our day jobs to focus full time on the giving block was when like everyone was scrambling, the economy was a mess, everything else, and that's when we went all in on the giving block because the bet we were making was that things were going to go more digital and that crypto was going to boom. And luckily those things played out how we thought they would. But that was when we got critical mass that spring actually, because nonprofits saw the opportunity of more digital donors, things going online, connecting with younger donors, all these things that you guys are out there pitching nonprofits on still today.
It's fascinating that the start of the giving block is in the midst of a huge market crash. You start gaining momentum and you go all in March or let's just pretend it's around like that March 2020 when you had that COVID crash. It's funny that
Yeah,
you picked those two moments to go all in and just had the conviction that there's something to this. It's not going away. There's going to be some real
yeah,
need to, there's a bigger picture here. I think it's fascinating.
yeah. I mean, the timing is like you're right, like exactly when things were at their worst. Almost, it's like we were so convinced there was almost nothing that could happen that would convince us this was a bad idea at that point, right? We knew it was just a matter of time, and we just had to last long enough for like us to be able to like will it into existence, basically.
Amazing. So, okay. So for everybody that's listening, kind of, connecting more kind of giving block and crypto milestones, I guess. When this episode comes out, it's going to be the company's 8-year anniversary on Bitcoin Pizza Day. So for everybody, was that just again your guys sheer conviction and sheer organization that you launched on Bitcoin Pizza Day, or is that just a nice cosmic coincidence?
It's just a coincidence as far as I can remember. And really, that was like the official day we filed the incorporation docs of the company. But of course, we had been working on it before then too. That's just when we really got organized.
So I guess, looking, I guess, more deeper into, Bitcoin Pizza Day, I mean, here we are, it's 2026, it continues to matter so much, even, since all the time that's passed, but, and how much the industry has evolved. But, maybe get a little bit of context. Like, why do you think it's still sticking around? Why do you think it's still a thing in the industry? Yeah, just love your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin Pizza Day is just like one of those cool symbolic reminders of how far Bitcoin in the industry has come. Like people can kind of laugh and joke about it, like, okay, yeah, this guy spent 10,000 bitcoins or whatever it was, right, on these pizzas, and today that would be however many billions of dollars. Um, so I think it's there's something like there's something about the crypto industry that's unique where people come together even over things that are almost painful or funny or kind of crazy. Or like the crypto community is almost most engaged and entertaining when things aren't going well. Right? It's like everyone kind of laughs about it together and keeps going anyway because everyone has such high conviction that it's gonna be okay, so they're able to sort of laugh through it and celebrate the wins as they come. So I think that's part of the reason people have really stuck to Bitcoin Pizza Day as being this kind of cool day of remembrance almost of how far we've come.
Yeah, I agree. And okay, so you built up the giving block. I mean, we feel we're the category kings of crypto philanthropy. We love the fact that we are bringing together nonprofits and the crypto industry. And over the last 8 years, it's been an incredible ride. So I guess you and Pat kind of already built like that one hit with the giving block. It's kind of like the buddy cop movie of crypto philanthropy that everybody loves. And now the two of you are back with a sequel called Cyclops. So what is this next flick all about?
Yeah. So yeah, after we got acquired by Shift Four, which was just over 4 years ago now, we built out the crypto team there, and we learned a ton. I mean, the Shift Four team was awesome to work with. We couldn't have done this without sort of the learnings we had at Shift Four, building out pay with crypto, stablecoin settlements, stablecoin payouts. And the idea from Cyclops actually came from our frustration of trying to do these things using the existing market solutions. So the idea of Cyclops is let's build crypto and stablecoin infrastructure specifically for payments companies. The idea is similar to the giving block, we pick an industry, we really go deep on it, really integrated vertical solution, and we become the category leader, category king. And similar to the giving block, no one else is doing that right now. Cyclops is the only one really focused on payments companies. There's lots of companies focused on payments, but no one focused on the payments companies. So, right, tailoring the onboarding process, the sales process, the go to market process, tailoring everything to the experience of a payments companies, and using what we learned, building those types of solutions at Shift 4 and what we know about payments companies from spending 4 years at Shift 4. So that's how it all came together. And of course, second time around, a little bit easier. And this time we've got a third co-founder as well, David Johnson, who, he's been around since the really early days of the Giving Block. And I don't know if you ever heard that story of, he actually set up a co-working space, an incubator in DC, and the Giving Block. Pat and I were the first people to get selected for it and work out of that basement in DC.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool actually that kind of a similar sort of moments where we talked about the timing of the giving block starting, and then you guys coming around and almost I don't want to say like pulling out sort of like the same kind of playbook, but again Giving Block wasn't the first people doing crypto philanthropy, but you guys are accepting crypto donations, but you guys saw a unique spot in the market and went after it. And then same thing on the stablecoin side. There's a lot of folks doing stuff on stablecoins, but again, you found another spot in the market, and you guys are going after that. And I guess the second time around, with all the learnings that you've had from the Giving Block and the experience out of Shift 4, are there things now kind of doing this for the second time that seem a little bit easier? How is it the second time around?
Definitely a lot easier the second time around. Still, I wouldn't say easy, but a lot easier. Some of the moments feel a little bit like deja vu with the giving block, just because of how similar the playbook is in a lot of ways, where we see the same thing, right? How you had these really generic, sort of broad solutions like a BitPay or Coinbase Commerce. Same thing today with who we're competing with at Cyclops. There's no one doing exactly what we're doing. We've learned a lot in terms of everything from how we build the team to how we hire, how we fundraise, right? Fundraising much easier second time around. We've eliminated, I would say, like a lot of those like left tail risks that a traditional startup would have because it's our second time. And so you get kind of the basics right on day one. And it's more about like, do you actually like get traction, right? Like you find out if you have product market fit much more quickly because of where you're starting from. And we already know we have that product market fit because we have Shift4 as a customer, and we'll soon be announcing some of the other customers we've signed beyond Shift4 now. So it's all been validated very quickly because we have that sort of like, high baseline starting point.
Yeah. Now, I guess to sort of start to close out, I guess some of the conversation a little bit. When I'm out at conferences and we talk about like crypto philanthropy, it's no longer like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? It's a recognized, sort of thing that, oh yeah, like we know people take crypto. It's much more established. So that has really evolved over the years in philanthropy, no question. I mean, the organizations that I talk to are like, yeah, we know we have to be in crypto. So gone are the days of like, what do you mean? What should I be doing in crypto? That seems so foreign, to now people realizing, yes, this is something that we should be looking into. Where do you see stablecoin adoption going? I mean, you guys are now fully in that market. What do you think that's going to change for kind of like everyday payments, and maybe looking out further afield? Where do you think this industry is headed?
Yeah. I think the industry has come a really long way, but it still is surprisingly early. And you look at the grand scheme of things. I mean, I think to us, right, we've been working crypto for a while now. It feels like it's gone kind of mainstream, and it sort of has in some ways, right, depending on the use case, the industries, and things like that. Um, but there's still a long way to go. And if you think about like global money movement, only something like 1% of money moves on stablecoin rails today. That's practically nothing, right? But it feels like a lot more because you see all these headlines, you see all these major companies adopting it, but it's still very, very early in that adoption curve. And I think that rate of adoption is only going to increase now that we have that critical mass of, not just size of the market, but size of the market participants, right? Like Visa even talking a lot about stablecoins on their earnings calls. Lots of major banks adopting it. Like by the end of this year, like that stable coin adoption rate, I think is really gonna start to even hockey stick even harder than it already has because the groundwork has been laid these last few years. So we think we're just scratching the surface, and we're really, really excited about what the next few years look like. And just think about, even if we go from 1% of money being moved on stable coins to 5 or 10%, how huge that shift will feel because of how big it already feels at 1%. So we're really excited to see where this heads in the next few years.
Awesome. Well, I know I can speak for us from the Giving Block Shift 4 side. We're all cheering you guys on. Maybe to kind of close things up, and I'll give the mic to you in terms of sort of a final word. And is there something, just kind of like looking back over the past 8 years and thinking about getting this whole venture off the ground? You finally got that good business idea. Is there something looking back on the past 8 years that is like a particularly good memory, or just something in general from the journey that you've come to appreciate even more?
Yeah, I think well, a couple things. So one is like just generally having an optimistic mindset goes a really long way in making these things work and actually making them successful. Like you have to really believe in the bottom of your heart that like it's gonna work out no matter how many setbacks you have along the way. You have to almost be like delusional in how convinced you are that it's a good idea to keep pushing past everyone telling you maybe this isn't a good idea or this is taking forever to get traction. And it has to be driven by like your own curiosity or maybe expertise or knowledge in a niche or something where you've just gotten to the point where you understand the market better than everyone else. That's certainly how we felt like with the Giving Block. That's certainly how we feel now with Cyclops. And so you just have to really believe and then never give up, basically, and be optimistic along the way, and don't let the kind of ups and downs get to you, and just think long term. And then the other thing I would say is, like, for most entrepreneurs out there, like, everyone loves to talk about ideas. Very few people actually try them, right? So if anyone listening is thinking about trying an idea and starting a startup, like, you got to actually try it at some point. You're not going to know if it works until you try it. And even if you try it and it doesn't work, you're going to learn so much along the way. I mean, we went through a million different iterations of the giving block, pivoting different ideas, products, pitches, everything. It's probably not going to work the way you envision it. It's going to change a lot over time. And maybe it never works, but you got to keep, getting your reps in, basically. So just give it a shot.
Well, it's like what they say, it's darkest before the dawn, and certainly the sun, is rose on the giving block, and it seems like it's rising on Cyclops as well. So, Alex, thanks so much for joining and giving everybody sort of a peek into how everything started, the origins of the giving block, and yeah, it was really great having you on the episode. We can't wait for what comes out of Cyclops. And of course, the team at the Giving Block has a lot of exciting things coming up this year. Really excited about where Crypto Philanthropy is going to go, and how we're all going to be seeing a lot more crypto around the block. So with that, Alex, thanks so much for joining.